Alright, so I like doing AM videos. I don't get to post them all the time till later on in the day, but I'm on the fly right now. So, what I do want to get in, I found out yesterday some beautiful, another role that the Catholic Church plays in fomenting war. Hmm. This one right here is terrifying. So, I got my book, The Bad Popes. I haven't read the whole thing. I understand the foundation of the Vatican, the spot in which the Vatican is built, is where Nero is said to have executed Peter. But as Nero was an actual figure, see, actually, here's the hard part to get. Most people can't understand why Nero would fabricate the story of the brutality and the significance of the execution of this character named Peter. So therefore, it's a validation. You see how this shit works? Because even the enemy admits that that's why he did it, because he knew he was keeping it simple. Cashew milk, dark chocolate, almond milk, hemp milk, or straight out the coconut from yesterday. Coconut milk, weight gainer, some whey protein, and glycine with cinnamon. Peanut butter and honey with almond butter and chocolate. And a bolillo. Well, but let me just get to this warmongering. World War II. This is all retrospect. So, I mean, again, they just got caught. I don't even have to go that far back. They're still in the process of hoarding 6,100 child fucking predators. Okay? So, I love the fact that I have to go to these extents in order to try and, like, this is classic shit. Convince humanity that Bane on the back of all the children of the world is this evil fucking organization of death, destruction, mayhem, robbery, and rape, and good old fashioned fucking war. And it's badass because I ran across a speech about a Catholic church, Makati or some shit like that from probably World War II. Well, he talks like that too. War. So I don't feel bad when I do that. Because it works. Apparently, he spoke in front of, oh my gosh. I just watched a 5-minute mini documentary from the Catholic Church in that time on him after his speech. That's it. Whoa. We talk about a warmongering motherfucker. Remember, or maybe you don't remember. I guess you can't remember. Well, I guess that's a fucked up way that I talk, huh? How do I say opposite of you remember? I remember. So you can remember. Share my memory. Fuck it. So I remember that prior to World War I and the rise of Mussolini, which again is just a mafia guy that was so flamboyantly fucked up in the head. It's not, anyways, alright. That he liked the uniform. If the Godfather movie would have kept everybody in a uniform, that would have been Mussolini. Get it? Not to mention that the Corleone family name used in The Godfather disingenuously is actually the name of the family that escalated violence in Sicily to epic scales, and all for Berlusconi, all to get the Berlusconi up in there. So they fucking power. They got a Berlusconi and the Bush has got an Obama. Oh, I wonder who got Cameron. I guess the Rothschilds. Who got Merkel? Well, whoever, I guess the Fourth Reich, who owns Italy's dead, Germany's dead, Spain's dead, Ireland's dead, Greece is dead. And I think straight took Cyprus people's fucking money. So I remember that the Vatican, the Vatican had just been conquered. It was actually ruling out of Italy. And for some reason, even though we're convinced something other than reality, in reality, the motherfucking Vatican got kicked out. It just happened to have a Jew ghetto going on of deplorable conditions, which was a human. See, even in fascism, damn, my Bible's not here. Even within the fascism of it, there's still the human component that can fight. They didn't change completely because these people are still, there's a Jewish family that still lives in the same area that was a Jewish ghetto, that was converted to a Jewish ghetto, and then unconverted away from the Jewish ghetto, and it still remains a Jewish community inside Rome that provides some kind of embroidery service or some shit like that, some kind of customized handcraft work every year or for every Pope coronation or some kind of shit like that. I think it's every year, or some whatever it is. But in that context, and that's looked at as a nice gesture of Christian values or some shit like that, or biblical values. Actually, some facade of a unison. When the Catholic Church is the one that's always perpetrating. Okay, let me put it like this too. You can contest this. That's fine. If Western civilization, which again I identify, including Islam and Judaism, as imperial fascism, Roman imperial fascism. Okay, if Western civilization has a tendency every century to go after, for annihilation, people that they identify as Jewish, what point in history do you stop saying it's them? It's an ambiguous them, like it's a Hitler. And at what point do you start to say, oh, okay, well, them kind of is a little bit broader than that. So, for an example, this McLaughlin guy or whatever, McLaughlin or Coffey or some shit like that. He was on a campaign before World War II trying to keep America out of the war. And he was giving some terrifying speeches. And what he was doing, he was revealing the New Deal, which was basically a version of the Patriot Act at that time. And It was the guy goes on to convey to people how this military plan has already gone into operation in their country, and he's trying to get people to foment hate. And I guess I have to learn a lesson from him, because what he actually does is shut people down. So I gotta make sure that I don't fall victim to that strategy inadvertently, as if I absorb it. But he's telling people about the New Deal, and he's actually reading the government policies regarding the New Deal, and it says stuff like how the mobilization of women, the targeting of women in order to manufacture armaments, ammunition. And this is for a national plan. This is prior, this is when he was stating, he's stating really good information. It's just, you gotta remember, he's a Catholic priest working for the Vatican. And this is all kinds of bullshit. For acting like they're pro-war, or anti-war. Okay? So, in his context, one, he represents the element of the Catholic Church that wants Jews dead. I don't know how that exists, but the term that he uses is internationalist, as drawn, as likewise Henry Ford, the international Jew. So I understand that, from what I understand, okay, same thing too. Henry Ford's context of international Jew is again based on a concept that most people are not familiar with, and that is that there was actually, what Germany is, what we consider Germany to Nazis, there was actually a country that's considered a kingdom not too long ago that existed for a good chunk of time, I think a couple of centuries, which is as long as America's been around, and was a Jewish version of Rome, and it was in Israel. See, that's another thing too. I just realized it right now. The significance of deleting that thing, that legacy of Judaism from history, is the preparation for the justification for a homeland, as if we've never had a homeland. I got it right there. So, okay, well that was pretty easy. So now this warmonger. So this warmonger, he gives out details about how they're going to get the women armaments. And the profound thing about this that I draw from is that he's telling the truth, and it all happens. Except the way he does it, terrifying. They're gonna take you women and under the supervision. You're gonna be making bullets and armaments and instruments of death that will be killing them. His in-depth description of war. Men will be in the trenches, wet, tired, unshaven, terrified, shivering, in the mud, in no man's land. Their bodies and their blood will soak foreign soil. Some shit along that line. It was good shit. It's very terrifying. And it's very, very easy to say anti-war. But as I've learned, sadly enough, my primary source was a cartoon. No, there's other ones, but the Guardians of Gahul with the owls. There's a bad character in it, the evil character, the traitor, whose name is Adamar or something like that, and which is, I think, I just last night realized, I think it might be connected to the name, at least name-wise, with the Knight's Tale, the bad guy in the Knight's Tale. But the gist of it is, in this potential where there's a plan for one side to go to war against another side, but the side that's doing the surprise attack is not ready yet. Then the little a source of information comes to the side that doesn't know they're about to be attacked, and it's legit information. So in the councils of power from a seat of power, using nobility and chivalry and this non-violent peace talk, agent of the enemy who is seeking to subdue his people for his own accumulation of power, argues vehemently against the entire concept or notion of war, and does so in a cunning way of degrading the source of the information in one sense. But going back to rush for judgment or some shit like that, this guy's different in that he's saying, we need to make a rush for judgment. They want war. There's two ends to this. At the time that he's doing this, Hitler is getting prepared. See how this works? So, in his anti-warmongering, he effectively demobilizes the anti-war community and consolidates them into a central figure so as they do nothing. It's like the Obama effect. I remember, on the heels of two American elections, George Bush didn't win either one of them by the popular vote, and it was the most epic portrayal of the facade of American elections. 2 years in a row, the guy won fucking twice. Couldn't even get half the fucking country to vote for him, and he fucking won twice. That's got a name. That's got a legal name. And it doesn't count as a fucking election in international law. But anyways, the judges, 3 of the judges on the bench, we know the whole fucking story. Or we just don't like to think about it. So, on the heels of that fucking racist piece of shit that executed more black people in fucking Texas than fucking were executed in the whole of Russia or some shit like that. He was fucking a motherfucker. He was killing fools like 500 a year. No bullshit. Retarded. He fucking killed the first woman in America executed. So all kinds of good shit. On the heels of him, the banking crisis, the black community was on the brink of being done with the American community, because that fucking facade was very, very thinly veiled at that point. But luckily, it's not so thinly veiled anymore. It's cloaked. And all the change, this is the same thing as his father. All the change, Iraq War, extended it to the day, only because of legal bullshit left. Afghanistan, still going to sign it to 2024. I'm going to end it. Bush tax cuts. The trickle down. Okay, what's the opposite of trickle down economics? Because if these things are Freudian slips, and this is psychology, and we have to deal with human brains, and they have human brains too, and even though they're clever and they're smart, they're still subject to the confines of a human brain, which means they tell you more than they want to tell you. Trickle down economics. What's the opposite of trickle down economics? So what's the intention of trickle down economics? So it's a vortex. Actually, that's a clear example of a vortex on top of the PG&E. So this is just hardcore fascism. But so the Bush tax cuts extended twice. They're fascism. The bailout. None of the money was ever given to the people. Oh, they helped some people buy their houses. Out of the $17 trillion that was given out around the world, honestly, it's like 15 trillion of it was given out under Obama, under essentially Obama's watch, in the context that he's the president or some shit like that. He has the sense to give the money to the people that have the debt so they can pay the debt, so that the banks can therefore eliminate the debt, therefore they can close the books and they can generate a profit. Giving all the money to the banks doesn't eliminate the debt, and the debt on the books was the problem. So they were just trying to balance the ratio. But there's a reason you bypass the people. So this Catholic priest is telling the whole fucking story about how they're going to mobilize the country. What's scary about this is that they actually fucking do it. And we could look back in history and they don't do it the way he fucking portrays it. They do it with fucking Betty, the fucking the iconic image now for fucking lesbian, which is a fascist symbol pre-constructed by a warmongering. Oh, but they wanted to. Nah, you guys are crazy. They escalated the war to the extent that they needed to in order to get the American public into it, including the manufacture of the attack on Pearl Harbor. Because the same thing with the Civil War. When you want to militarize, you need a war. There was a sea separating the war right there, and the Monroe Doctrine. And so this guy makes a big thing. No interventions. But behind that, the Catholic Church is working with Mussolini, the fascist. He's the whole rise to power. He saves the Vatican. The same thing too is that working the Catholic Church is working with Hitler because they talk just like this guy, an internationalist. Because the Catholic Church, they're with the fucking matter. Well, okay, the Catholic Church, historically, we don't know this. They do, especially the cardinals, the bishops, and shit like that. The Catholic Church still sees the existence of the Jewish, what's considered, the way there's a Catholic superstate, which is horrible, disgusting, and it's been proven to be a fucking disgusting, deplorable fucking existence and bane on all of humanity. At one time, there was a Jewish superstate. I guess you can call America a Christian superstate, or England, or I don't know what you call Australia. It's so sad. My people, oh my gosh, it gives me the shivers to think how fucking imperial works. Look at fucking the people of Australia. That goes to show you there's no such thing as white. Oh my gosh, that's so sad. And how fucking hard it is, how much work it takes to make somebody white. How much violence. It's just fucking, man, poor Australians, my ass. But the Catholic Church, just like this guy, is creating a thing where, oh, we've got an anti-war movement. You don't got an anti-war movement. You got a demobilization of the anti-war movement through the concentration of a fascinating fascist high priest. Nothing to do with Catholicism. Hardcore imperialism. This guy is actually creating the facade of an anti-war movement to disengage the Catholic element of the anti-war movement from the other part of it, to think that they're more anti-war than the others. This separates the 95% of Americans that were against the war and gets them all ready for the Adamar effect of, well, now that we see it so bad, I guess we're gonna have to go. For all I know, the fucking cartoon could base their character, I don't know anything about the making of the cartoon really, but they could base it on this guy. Or it could just be a template that exists over and over, but I found one of them. So, in this context though, the Catholic Church, as well as IBM now, and GM, and the Prescott Bush family, and Union Cal, and Standard Oil, they've already been giving money to Hitler at this point. Well, this guy's giving these speeches. The Catholic cardinal is standing the right hand side and giving blessings, and Hitler's going to church. Oh, you don't see pictures of Hitler at church. Why don't you see pictures of Hitler at church? It's the Mao effect. They airbrush them out. Hmm. So but you don't think they airbrush people out. You don't think they airbrush buildings out. So they basically, in one sense, they airbrush the Catholic Church out of Hitler's life, which is the Vatican, which is the Pope. So, but the Catholic Church is doing all of this shit, and this guy's in America doing the subterfuge, and then, so again, what I'm trying to tell you is they're building the entire concentration camp, like as stated at the opening of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, in which Bill Clinton was residing president. This gentleman gave a speech in which he gave the profound insight that I had never considered before, and it was a very terrifying, eye-opening, real-life look into what World War II was, in which he stated, I will still, this is not an exact quote, never understand why the Allied forces, I would like to believe that he emphasized Allied so as to imply, consider this immensely people, but he could have just moseyed on through. Okay, emphasis added. Why the Allied forces never bombed the rail lines that were going to the concentration camps. That's my point. While this priest is doing this, that whole network is being founded, laid out. And by the time that shit is in full-scale operation, then this guy is the same guy that comes along and says, well, if it's that bad. And by then, you have the entire Catholic population fascinated, bind rods, fasci, the fasci, the fascist symbol is rods bound with a leather strap and an axe as the power and authority, and that shit works. And so, when the war movement goes on, you don't skip a beat. And what happens? The Catholic Church, banks, property, what you call that shit? Absorption, kind of shit like that. Reconstruction, but then they get reconstruction money from governments, from destroying their own buildings too, which we don't think. Why would they want to do that? They want to upgrade. Why would they? Look, they don't want to spend the silver that everybody knows that they have, that they know that they have. See what it is? You know, I know, the people that it was stolen from, who are mostly Catholic, as well as the people that stole it, who are Catholic, all know who's got the silver and how much silver it was, because they kept very good records. The claim that they know, even if they claim that they no longer have the possession of it, the record of its removal and the context which it was moved designates by divine law that the Catholic Church, as an individual person, and the Holy See as the corporate entity that actually did it. Because understand this too, it wasn't the Catholic Church that did all the golden slaves and shit like that. It was the Holy See element of the Catholic Church, because that's not new. That's as old as the crown, which is also a corporation's name from like 1600s, so as to prevent the royal family from ever being able to be subject to legal bullshit. That's why they have regalia properties and all these kind of front organizations, so they could get public funds. So this is the richest family in England. This is the Vortex. They get public funds through contracts as a company named Regalia. They collect the money from the poor people who are taxed. Remember, the crown doesn't pay taxes. They are the tax. So they get the money. They propose a project. Oh, we want to rebuild the new MI6, MI5 headquarters. All right, well, it's going to cost how much money? All right, well, we've got some bids. Well, let's see. Well, this person's not the lowest, but we really like their design the best because it's perfect Egyptian, and we like that shit. So we'll pick them. We'll give them billions of dollars to make the epicenter of our spy. They have another one, HQ, some shit like that, which is their CIA thing. But this is the MI5 or MI6. I don't know. I don't know the whole thing yet, but it looks like Egypt. Turns out that it's owned, built, and leased. I gotta go by Regalia Properties. So, anyways, it's been 30 minutes. The point of all of this is the Catholic Church is still warmongering. They're evil as fuck, and I'm gonna find one because I found this one. I'm gonna find one that's going on right now, and I bet you it has to do with the Pope having two faces. Because if this Pope, the nice Pope, is what I think he is, he's gonna be the Pope to say anti-nuclear, so that he could point the finger at Jews.